In this short video, I want to introduce us to a word which might add to our vocabulary to help us think and help us describe God and to apprehend a grander vision of God. And the word is a theological term, and it started really being used back in the 8th century and has proceeded ever since to be used even more in the last maybe 100 years within theology. And the word is perichoresis. Perichoresis. The word, it comes from the Greek, and it means to rotate or to spiral into or to turn inward. So there's a sense of movement, a sense of direction, and it is a word that was used in theology in a really pretty technical way. And the way in which it was to describe God was to describe the personhoods of God, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, who would indwell each other, turn into each other, spiral into the life of the other whilst remaining distinct. Now that's a really important factor, that there would be a mutual embeddedness, an indwelling, to be sort of interlocked. However, the life of the Father and the Son and the Spirit would always be distinct. They wouldn't be mingled or dissolved into each other, but there would always be this intense and very vital relationship that was real. It wasn't contrived. So the Father and the Son and the Spirit have a very distinct and profound relationship, although there is this inter-embeddedness. Now this comes out of the theology of John's Gospel again, chapters 14 to 17, where Jesus says things like, "I will be in you, and you will be in me, and we will be in them. And we will send the Spirit, and the Spirit will come from us and minister our lives to the church, to you." So all these ways of trying to say that there is this embedded union within the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, but there's also distinct personhood and powerful relationship. Now, there's a little twist to the perichoresis story, because in the last 100 years it has been used, again, very frequently within theology, primarily within a stream of theology called social Trinitarian theology, which looks at God's life as a society, as a divine society, as a community of love. And it highlights not so much the ontology of God, God beyond creation, time and space, and it doesn't even highlight so much the action of God within creation as the creator, the redeemer, and the empowerer of the church. But it looks really specifically at God's life as a divine society, as the interrelatedness of the Father and the Son and the Spirit. So God therefore becomes our social model, the community after which we shape ourselves. One of the ways in which this is actually visualized within the artistic side of modern theology is as a dance, and it's called the perichoretic dance of God. So you can almost say it's like a Scottish ceilidh, where there's this turning and spiraling and birling between the Father and the Son and the Spirit within this motif of the dance. That's a metaphor that's used. Now, as novel and fascinating and interesting as that might be to imagine God within this divine dance, one of the cautions of that is that within a ceilidh, for example, there is a separateness, and then there's a turning and there's a separateness. So your life is always being joined to but never embedded within the other. And that's one of the cautions of trying to think of God within this sort of divine dance between the Father and the Son and the Spirit, is that it moves away from the precise and I think more accurate technical way of using the word, where there is an embeddedness and an inter-indwelling and a distinction, and not just a turning or a burling together. So the perichoretic vision of God, God's life as a divine society or a community of being, a community of love, where there is mutual indwelling and yet distinction, does give us an increased vocabulary to try and describe God and understand God, and it also gives us more to believe in and worship and pray for and serve. Now there's also a little other addendum to this, is that some theologians would say that we also are then invited into this perichoretic relationship with God. And to that I would say, well, yes and no. We are invited to participate in the divine nature, this idea of theosis, of experiencing the life of God. But at the same way we're speaking, remember, analogically, we're speaking not in the same way. We do not enter into God's life the same way the Son and the Spirit enter into the life of the Father. However, we will experience something of the profound union of God that at the moment we can't even imagine. Our faculties and our bodies, creation as it currently stands, is not capable of knowing that intimacy and that union with God in the way that one day it shall be. And so the prayer of Jesus in John 17 will be answered. And it is answered, you could say, in part in this arena of history, and then in the fullness of, all eternity, it will be fully answered as we do experience something of the perichoretic love and union and relationship with God. So there's a little bit more food for thought. So until next time, peace.